Hey YouTubes, Anthony Fortner here, Ready Set Data. I want to talk a little bit about common table expressions. A few of the reasons why they pop up in my conversations all the time. You definitely see them in my queries all the time. Some of the benefits that you would get out of using them if your database allows that. First of all, I think it helps with readability. Instead of having SQL statements hidden throughout your SQL in joins and select statements, you can just type it out once at the top of your statement. Specify what that query is doing, and you can reference it more than once throughout the rest of your query. I've seen it named in an intelligent way, and I think it's very helpful. For example, I just recently saw a query that was detecting bad data, and they would have a CTE that looked for this and a CTE that would look for that. They would name something rows from target and rows from source. And even if the query logic was a little complicated, because business logic is everywhere, you would know what that CTE was doing by the name. This is something I think, is important in other programming languages. We may not always do that in SQL, and that is naming our functions. No, a CTE is not a function. Common table expression is not a function. But we can name them whatever we want. And instead of naming them CTE1 or CTE2, we can give them intelligent names like regions with high sales or top 10 representatives. You can give them names that help you understand what they're trying to do. So in the main query, in the body of the query, when you are using those CTEs as if they were tables, the name is explicit. I don't believe there's a performance impact for well-written CTEs. They are still queries. They are some hardware query, so all the typical performance tuning considerations apply. And if you're doing that, you're not going to incur a penalty. In fact, if the query is well-written, I would argue that CTEs tend to help performance. I am SQL Server specific here. So mileage may vary depending on what database engine you use. But for me, for my workload, there are times where I get a large query. I just pull out some logic, place that as CTE, and then either that alone will magically increase performance, or by placing that logic there and referencing it in a few places, I'm able to tune that particular CTE. I'm able to produce an index that covers that. And I wouldn't have been able to notice how we were collecting data when it was in the 600-line blob of SQL. So readability, breaking it apart so it's easier to refactor pieces for performance. The fact that it forces you to spell out a piece of logic. CTEs can enhance the readability of your code. They can place pieces of logic in one centralized location for this one query, so you don't accidentally have logic that needs to be changed in three places only get changed in one when that new feature comes in or business logic changes. I do believe that increases performance, especially because you can have a specific piece of logic up at the top of your query, obvious what it's doing, being referenced in a few different places, and you can tune that particular piece. You can realize that there's something going on there that is inefficient, and then suddenly everything below will run smoother. And SQL Server may be able to suss out at that point what it is you're trying to do, because that's the secret sauce of SQL, right? You are writing what you want, and it decides on the plan. So anything you can do to help it understand what it is you want will help that powerful query engine get to the data as quickly as possible. One last little cheat code. Sometimes I make CTEs to get rid of them. And what I mean by that is there'll be some complicated logic, and I actually want to end up making a index view, or I want to break out a piece of logic in another way. I will actually take a piece of logic that would be some sort of derived query or subquery, and I put that as CTE just to find out all the locations in the code that is being used, where that is being referenced. And then once I have the query working again, I know everything's using that CTE at the top, I can actually move that and attach it to a new temp table or index view. So that can help you pull out logic in some queries that are unfortunately big balls of wax, big balls of mud, spaghetti code. whatever derogatory term you like to use for those large queries. That's just a couple things that I think are benefits of using common table expressions, but at least in my experience. Let me know what you think. Comment below. Head over to Discord and let me know if you have the opposite opinion, or if your database engine actually gets performance penalties for using common table expressions. I'd like to hear more about this. I'd like to hear some opposing views. So like, subscribe. Thanks for watching this video, and y'all have a good day.